Hey everybody! So now that my debut novel, The CHAOS CIRCUS, has been out in the world for a little while, I decided to do a video talking about the top 5 reasons why I chose self-publishing over traditional publishing. Within the writing community, there's historically been a bit of a mindset that self-publishing is sort of a last resort or even a quitter's way out for authors who were unable to pick up an agent or a publishing house with traditional publishing. When I was a teenager, I definitely bought into that mindset. Whenever I would dream about getting published, it was always one of the big 5 and, a 6-figure deal and all that good stuff. If I went with self-publishing, I would be settling for obscurity and selling myself short. But boy, how wrong I was. There is plenty of merit to both traditional and self-publishing. It's not really a matter of which one is better so much as which one fits the individual author's needs best. So I want to give you guys just some of the reasons why I decided that self-publishing was what was best for me in my writing career. And I do want to start off by saying that I still 100% celebrate traditional publishing, and I'm really rooting for a lot of my friends who are right now in the querying process and looking for agents. That's their path and it's totally cool, it's just not the right one for me. And these are just a few of the reasons why. Reason number 5. Full control of my content. Admittedly, some agents and editors and publishing houses are stricter about this than others. But I spoke to many friends who had pursued traditional publishing in the past. They had found that being accepted by agents and editors and publishing houses often depended on them changing things that they felt were core, fundamental elements of their story. That notion always bothered me because I'm very specific about the kind of story I want to tell and how I want to tell it. And while I am completely open to constructive criticism and I really want a whole flock of mentors and beta readers and critique partners telling me how to improve the story, I had a little bit more of a gut check about an entire industry being able to decide key elements that I would have to cut out in order to make my book sell. I didn't want someone else to be in the position to tell me that my content has to be this way or that way or else it will be rejected. Additionally, as a perfectionist, I was super terrified when I was considering traditional publishing of posting something on my social media or my blog that would disqualify me from publication. And I realized I really didn't need that stress because I love posting snippets and doing a lot of self-marketing, and I was very, very stressed out that I was going to kill my chances with a future agent by posting too much of my story online. So part of my decision was realizing that I wanted the freedom to decide both the content of my stories and the content of my social media without feeling like I had to answer to a publisher or an agent or an editor or really just the industry standards in general. Reason number 4, the process beyond agenting. So the more I've come to understand about the publishing process in general, the more I've come to realize that even if you land an agent who's willing to represent you long into the future, that's not actually a guarantee that every story you write will be sold. I believed that once you landed an agent, you were basically a shoo-in. All that you had to do was write a manuscript, polish it up, get it off to an editor, go through a couple rounds of edits, hand it off, and then that agent would get it to a publisher for you. Not so. Published, agented authors still have to make a proposal for every novel that they write. And the agent can actually approve or deny that novel. Now don't get me wrong, a lot of the authors that I know are super tight with their agents and there's really not many manuscripts that their agents would reject. Their agents support them and encourage them and even give them ideas for future projects that they could work on based on market trends, passion projects, and things like that. But for me personally, I wasn't really settled in my spirit with how that part of the process worked. Which leads me to reason number 3, the merit of the story. I totally understand that a lot of agents and publishers are very picky about what books they'll undertake because they understand the ebb and flow of the industry itself. They know what's hot, like for example, right now it's books that deal with social issues and social justice and things like that, whereas books like dystopian or paranormal romance have kind of taken more of a back burner. And really, they want their writers to write within the realm of what's popular. Why? Well, publishers want to sell books. It's their business. Agents, in turn, want you to have a fighting chance with an already oversaturated market. So both agents and publishers are more likely to reject a manuscript that isn't on the cutting edge of what is currently marketable. My personal issue with that is that a lot of genres like young adult dystopian or young adult paranormal romance didn't actually take off until somebody gave a book in those genres a chance. Think Hunger Games and Twilight. These stories had to have a chance to stand on their own 2 feet, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. Now, I'm not saying that my books are the next Harry Potter or Twilight or Hunger Games or anything like that, but deep in my heart, I've always wanted my stories to be given the same benefit of the doubt and the chance to stand on their own merit rather than having to be written in a way that catered to what's currently popular in the publishing market. I didn't want my books to be rejected based on the forecast of how they would do. I wanted them to be put out there and given the chance to sink or swim based on what the readers thought about the book, not based on someone's prediction of what they would think of it. Reason number 2, the agent debacle of 2018. And no, I'm not talking about agents a la The Matrix. If you were on Twitter in 2018, you might have seen how the writing community blew up a little bit about these stories that started coming out from authors who really got the short end of a straw, working with agents who suddenly disappeared off the map, didn't fulfill their contracts with the writers, things like that. Since then, a number of authors have come out of the woodwork talking about the imbalance of power in the industry, really from the top down, from the big 5 big name publishers, to the agents, to writers who maybe didn't work with agents who are necessarily reputable, and how that really affected their career, not just in that moment, but going forward for many, many years after. Now, don't get me wrong, there are tons of great agents out there, and there are ways to vet agents as well. But of those agents who are really good at their craft and really reputable, most of them only pick up between 2 and 6 new writers a year. That's an awfully small number when you consider the pool of thousands upon thousands of writers who are submitting new manuscripts. So if you can't land with one of those reputable agents who have so many manuscripts to go through, you're kind of left in the dark, feeling around, trying to find an agent who is reputable, and that's how many of these authors were saying they had hooked up with agents who were maybe a little bit less than reputable. Now, for some writers, the risk and the challenge of finding a good agent is all part of the fun, and I say more power to you guys. But for me, it just ended up not being worth it with the anxiety and the stress that was involved. And the number 1 reason why I chose to go with self-publishing over traditional publishing is that writing is my passion, but it's not my only purpose. So anyone who knows me knows that I am passionate about writing. It's when I talk about it all the time. I'm up at 5 a.m. at the latest every day, in front of my keyboard, getting those words out, but writing is hard. It's really, really tough, no matter how dedicated you are to it. And oftentimes I found that the notions of publishing were starting to completely consume not only my writing time, but my passion for everything else in life. I kind of hung all my hopes and dreams about writing around the idea of how am I gonna land an agent? How am I gonna land a publisher? What's that gonna look like? It made me really obsessive to the point where all the joy was sucked out of my writing, and I was letting go of other things that I have a purpose in, like taking care of people and being with my family, because I was constantly having my head buried in trying to make this publishing thing work. I felt like I was writing against a ticking clock. Like, if I couldn't find an agent, find a publisher, wait a year or more through edits and marketing and all of that, if I couldn't get that done, I was just wasting my time with writing, and I was wasting all of my years waiting for this big dream that might never come true. In the words of Lin-Manuel Miranda, why was I writing like I was running out of time? By the way, the timing only gets harder once you're actually published. When you go traditional, there's a lot of mandatory deadlines and book tours and signing events and other things that require a large amount of time, even big chunks back to back. So for someone with a full-time job that I'm also passionate about and limited vacation time through the year, what I was looking at was being torn between two very important parts of my world. This is why self-publishing has really been a great middle ground for me. I'm able to still work my weekly 9-to-5 job, which I absolutely love doing, and I love the people that I work with. But on my free time, I'm also able to work on my self-publishing business. I'm able to design things for my business. I'm able to sign and sell books. And of course, I get to keep writing, which is the best part of it all. Now, it's true that there are some doors, at least at this point in time, that are open to traditionally published authors that aren't open to self-published authors. But I've made peace with that. I get that my book may never be on shelves at Barnes & Noble and things like that, but with the market constantly changing and the general shift toward ordering books online, anything can really happen. Not only that, but once I shifted my focus from how do I land a traditional publishing contract to how do I just enjoy writing and get my books in people's hands, I found that my passion for writing has really returned in full force. I have determination, I have vision, I have ambition, I have control over my books. I get to decide when they come out. I'm making my own deadlines, which can be difficult, but is also really, really fun. Ultimately, the reason that I chose self-publishing over traditional is because it's what works for my lifestyle, the way that my brain works, and honestly, what my dreams and goals are. I have had so much fun working with cover designers and map makers. I'm meeting a lot of other indie authors who are absolutely delightful people, and I love being part of this community. Because I'm feeling so fired up and so excited, and because I have so much vision for the future, that's how I know that going with self-publishing was right for me. So thanks for checking out my video, guys. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what your take is on self-publishing and traditional. Which path are you going with and what made you choose that? You can let me and the others know in the comments below. And if you guys would like to, please don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about future videos. I've got some really awesome content coming up, and oh boy, I've got plenty of time to do it because I'm making my own schedule.